Hey y'all, it's Miss Johnson here. I didn't really feel like recording my face, so I am using my Memoji, and I felt like y'all might enjoy seeing what she looks like anyway. So today we're going to be talking about bubble letters, and I'm going to teach you how to draw them. You're going to practice with me because we will be using this skill on our sketchbooks next week. So in just a moment, you will get out a piece of paper so that you can practice drawing your bubble letters with me. And after that, you'll have a chance to practice writing your name in bubble letters. So go ahead and get out a piece of paper and get ready. Keep in mind that you can do this with any number, any letter, any symbol like an exclamation point or a question mark, whatever you want to do, you can make it into a bubble letter or a bubble symbol, I guess. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so the things you're gonna need for this project are a regular piece of paper, copy paper is fine, lined paper is fine as well, a pencil. It doesn't have to be a mechanical pencil like mine is. It can be a regular pencil as well. A black marker or a Sharpie or a black crayon, any of those will work, and then something to color with. Okay, so we are gonna start with doing something that everybody can write all together. So I'm going to start writing the word art with bubble letters. So the way that we do this, the easiest way, is to start out writing your letters as neatly as you can. So I'm just gonna do them all uppercase because it's easier to do them as uppercase letters. So I got A. Next I need R, but I don't want to write it so close to this one because then I won't have any room to go around my letter for the bubble letter. So next I need to space it out, and you have to kind of plan ahead. If you know that your word is going to be long, you need to make sure you give yourself enough room to leave space in between and make sure that you have enough room to fit it on your paper. So A, R, and then T. Again, I've got a good bit of space between each letter, and I need that space there because I'm going to go around each letter with a bubble shape. Watch me as I do this really slowly. I'm going all the way around the A. I need to connect those here. Then I'm going to go inside of the A. You can't forget that one little part. You've got to have the inside of that too. Next, I'm going to go around the R. All the way around it. What am I forgetting? I can't move on until I do the inside of that letter. If that letter has a space inside of it, like A and R do, then you need to also go around that part too. T does not have a space inside of that letter, so T is going to be a little bit different. So we're going to go around and then underneath. Okay, I am going to use my Sharpie here so that I can trace around or over, I can trace over the letters that I have drawn. Now, I do not want to trace this part. I don't want to trace my original letter. The reason is I am going to come back in and erase that later. So, like I said, you can use a Sharpie, you can use a black marker, you could use a crayon. I don't have one near me. You could use colored pencils. Whatever you have available to you, you use and make it work. But I'm just going to use a Sharpie since I have it. And keep in mind, if we're using just copy paper, we don't want to get our Sharpie underneath the copy paper and on the table underneath. So you need some kind of messy mat or scratch sheet underneath, especially if you're at home and you're using a table. You don't want to get Sharpie all over it. If you're using a regular marker, you should be okay. If you're using crayon, you're definitely okay. But if you're using Sharpie, you don't want it to bleed through your paper. So I'm just tracing each of my letters. Should I trace this part? No, we don't want to trace that part because we want to erase our original letter. That original letter is just a guide for us to use. Now we're going to trace the R. You can go a lot slower than I am if you need to. It's up to you. Now we're going to trace the T. And now we're done with our tracing. All we have to do now is go back and erase. Now you can use a big eraser or you can use the eraser that you have on your pencil. It might be easier to use a big eraser if you drew your letters really large. So I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna gently erase my paper. I don't wanna tear up or bend my paper. I just wanna be really, really careful. And the trick here that I didn't mention is to draw lightly when you're writing that letter originally so that it comes back up. I did not draw lightly because I wanted you to be able to see exactly what I was doing. So I'm continuing to erase as carefully as I can. And get rid of my extra eraser dust. Okay, now if you want to get really fancy with these bubble letters and if you have enough room, you can go through on one side of the letter and draw some little reflections of light so they look really bubbly. Here's how we do that. So I draw maybe just starting on the corner up here, just a little oval and maybe a circle. And then I don't want to come down here with that because if the light is coming from over here, that's where you would see the light shining on your letters. So I wouldn't do my next bubbles over here. I would do them all on the same side of the letter and kind of near the same spot. So my light is coming from over here. I do not want to have little reflections on the bottom because that wouldn't make sense visually. And your shapes don't have to be exactly the same. There you go. We've got some kind of reflections on our bubbles. Like I said, you don't have to do that part if you don't want to. That's just an extra little fancy way to make your bubble letters look really bubbly. Now I'm going to go ahead and color, and I'm going to speed up that process so we're not sitting here watching me color my letters for a long time. Really quickly, before I go ahead and color, I want to talk about good practice for your markers. If you are using markers, you could use crayons, colored pencils, whatever you want. But if you're using just a regular Crayola marker like I am here, it's good practice to put your cap on the end so you don't lose it. And then when you're coloring, it's a good idea to not use the very tip of the marker unless you need to get into a small area. If you're using the marker to fill in a big area, use it where it's kind of on its side. So I used it on its side there. That's what it looks like when I use it on the tip of it. It doesn't cover as much area and it's going to take you a lot longer, and then it'll also wear down that tip. But around the bubbles up here, I need to use the tip of the marker to get really close to those areas. So that's the only place I'm going to use the very tip of the marker. So now that you have the basics of how to create a bubble letter, I am going to lead you through the alphabet. So the first thing you're going to do is write each letter, giving space between each letter, writing them large, and just making sure you have enough space to go around and create that bubble letter. I'm not going to go through and explain out loud how to do each one because we'll be sitting here for 45 minutes if I do that. But you can watch to see the steps and to see if you've got it right. You can pause this at any moment that you need to see any specific letter that you need. Now I'm going around each letter to turn it into a bubble letter. So go ahead and do that with each of the letters. Just keep in mind I have the ability to speed the video up, so I did. I am not actually drawing this fast. This is about twice as fast as I actually draw. So be sure to use that pause button when you need to. After you get finished outlining each letter, which I'm still working on in the video, I want you to go back and take an eraser to erase inside each letter. Be careful if you did not draw your outside of your bubble letters in Sharpie. You don't want to get rid of the whole letter, just that original letter that we drew to use as a guide. That's all you want to get rid of. If you used a Sharpie or a marker to trace, you should be fine. You shouldn't have to worry. You can just kind of erase all over. Don't forget to color your letters. If you want to add those fancy highlights like we practiced in our first word that we drew, you can. But definitely practice coloring inside of your bubble letters. After that, I want you to try to write your full name in bubble letters, first and last. So I really hope you enjoyed practicing your bubble letters with me, and I hope you were able to write your own name in bubble letters just to practice so that you are ready for decorating your sketchbook cover next week. I hope you have a good rest of the week, and I hope you have a good rest of your Wednesday. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!